Hello, hello, happy morning. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. Thank you so much, Ruth Ann, and thank you so much, Michelle, for jumping into the last live and letting me know that you couldn't hear me. So hopefully it's working now. Part of the technical difficulty is we were just wrapping up the yoga club and doing a really wonderful play on, oh, yay, I see somebody. Ruth Ann, yay, you can hear me? That's awesome. Thank you for letting me know that you couldn't hear me. Holy moly. I have to make sure I change the microphone after the yoga club so that you guys can hear me on Facebook, because I want to share amazing goodness that comes up during the yoga club. I do get so excited. I was just saying in the last live where I couldn't be heard, how taking certain shapes with your body will evoke certain experiences. So if you want to, you've probably heard that Superman stance pose for building confidence. Yes, exactly. Okay, cool. You can hear me. The Superman pose for taking confidence before you go out to give a speech or talk to a group of people to get your message across. Yoga is the same idea, and we all take very unique individual shapes when we come to the sticky mat. There's a basic set of alignment instructions we all want to follow, but when it comes down to it, we're going to really put our personality onto the yoga pose. And that's why it's so important when you start to look at your yoga play or your yoga practice that you don't get discouraged if your pose doesn't look like your neighbors or the teachers or the magazine or the videos, because think of it like your sticky mat is the blank canvas, and you're going to take your body and you're going to just move it through all these shapes through this dimensional world and really express who you are, right? This path of yoga is about self-discovery. That's one of the things, one of the most important things. We start to have that moment to reflect and see the true self. And then we begin to see it in others. So when you come to your sticky mat, it's always a wonderful reminder that there are options. You never have to do a pose any one way. Basic alignment instructions, yes, there are certain things that are going to keep us safe, that are going to set us up, but within those boundaries, there's a lot of play. So for example, your downward dogs. Let's say your wrists are hurting that day, and having a traditional downward dog is just bothering your wrist or your shoulder or your elbow. Don't do it. Instead, modify it or change the shape of it, right? Come into puppy pose. You keep your knees on the floor. You come up to your fingertips, and you have a different experience that's very similar to downward dog, but what it does is it meets you where you are in that moment. So what I want to do is I want to take a moment to come to the sticky mat and just show you one of these movements. So when you're in table pose, I got to get my little mic back on. When you're in table pose, you want those hands to be beneath the shoulders and the knees beneath the hips. Now, even here, if this isn't comfortable on the wrist, know that you can come up onto your knuckles. That can sometimes make it a little nicer. If you have yoga blocks, you can use the yoga blocks under the hands. It's a little bit different because it elevates us a lot. And sometimes they even sell these little grippy things that you can hold on to lower to the floor. So that's one option here. But from table, if downward facing dog just isn't feeling right for your wrist, for your shoulders, for your legs, simply change the shape of it, right? Break it down, so to speak. Keep the knees on the floor. Walk your hands forward so there's less pressure on your wrist. Your wrists aren't as an intense of an angle. You roll the sit bones to the sky, you soften between the shoulder blades, and you move your hips back. And you see that the shape is similar to downward dog. And really downward dog is me just lifting my knees up here. And it's a wonderful alternative. So the reason I share that particular one is because the quote we were talking about in the yoga club this morning was how often before we begin a task do we declare it impossible, right? How often before we even start something, we're like, I could never, I can't do that, not me, that's impossible. But if you have someone who can show you how to break it down into manageable pieces, all of a sudden it does become possible. And on top of that, you get to express your own unique personality. You're not stuck in just this box shape of trying to look like the next cookie cutter house, right? That you hear about. But you have that moment to really be an artist on your sticky mat. So if you have questions about yoga poses, right? And especially if you're watching the replay, if there's a pose that has never felt quite right to you, you're like, that's impossible. I can't do that. Or, not for my body. And that very well might be the case, right? So that's where having a teacher's eye, someone like me come in and say, oh yeah, I see what you're talking about. There's no way your shoulder, is hurting because of a car accident, or, some people, they bang it or they fall down the stairs, and poses like downward dog and the yoga push-up chaturanga, it feels impossible, right? Because of the injury. So you step back, you break it down a little bit, and you say, this is where I begin. I begin at the wall, or I begin on my back. I begin on opening and strengthening. So let me know which yoga poses you have questions about, and I'll come back on and I'll answer them and let you know how you can change the shape to meet you where you are. Thank you for joining me, and know that you can always do this in the yoga club too. That's the beauty of it, right? I get to see you and give you that instant feedback to say, oh, I see that you're struggling. I see that you're frustrated. Wait a second, let's try it this way. Hi, Michelle. It's good to have you. Thanks for joining. So with the yoga poses, if there is one that you've been curious about, like, my back just doesn't feel quite right, my shoulder's not here, let me know. Put it in the comments. I love to share yoga. And the reason is because something I was talking about in the last video where I couldn't be heard is that moment, maybe I spoke about it in this one, that moment where you take certain shapes with your body to evoke experiences. Oh, your feet, Michelle. Yes, feet can get very unhappy. Do you ever do tennis ball on your foot? Do you ever roll your foot on the tennis ball out of curiosity? That's a really good way to begin. So as I'm waiting for your response, let me grab a tennis ball. Hold on, I'll be right back. I'm just running around the corner to my little yoga goodie bag. And I have, hello, I'm back. All right, tennis ball. Yep. Okay. All right. So you do the tennis ball underneath the feet. Okay. That's a great one. So for those of you guys who don't know this, this is a lifesaver. Invest in a tennis ball. You get the tennis ball and you gently squish the feet, just like this. You roll the foot back and forth, and it feels so wonderfully good. Oh, I know. Ruth Ann says, oh, not the tennis ball. Yep. Hips, hamstrings, lower back. Exactly. Yeah, the tennis ball can be a little bit rough. So a couple more for the feet. Yes, the toe pose. Michelle, you read my mind. That's just what I was thinking. So even before you do the toe pose, here's something that's a nice warm up. So the toe pose, for those of you guys who don't know it, what you do is you're actually in Thunderbolt, it's called. Your feet are pointed behind you. From here, you lean forward and you curl the toes under. Now, this for some people is plenty of torture. They don't need to go any farther. Some people, for more of a toe stretch, they walk their hands back. We did this morning in the yoga club. And then you come up, hands to thighs. This is great. Like, I was at a conference teaching yoga all weekend, so my feet were in, they were in shoes. I had to wear shoes at this conference. I'm used to being barefoot. But anyway, so my feet are definitely feeling it. So a pose like this, leaning back a little bit, this is wonderful for opening up the soles of the feet, but it can be intense. So one thing you can do before you go into that toe pose is you can hold hands with your feet. I'm going to change here. So what you do is you take your foot and you interlace your fingers with your toes. Because the toes themselves, if they've been all crunched up in the shoe, they're not going to want to stretch. So you just interlace the fingers and you spread your fingers. And you might find that your fingers don't even want to interlace between your toes. Your feet are like, I don't want to hold hands with you. But you never know. So maybe you might be able to interlace. And if you can, go for it. If you can't, just do the best you can. The other thing you can do here is you can point the foot and you can flex it. And the foot's doing the action, the hand is helping. You can bring the foot into little circles and then back around again. Okay, so that's a nice way to begin. And then also massaging the sole of the foot with the ball of or the mound of the thumb and a soft little tap. So I'm going through this very quickly, but you could take a long time with this. This is something that's very, very beneficial. Something else that really helps with feet, because when you think about the muscles on the sole of the foot, you have to realize it's not just here, but you've got that plantar muscle, talking about that in yoga club this morning too, plantar muscle that runs from the sole of the foot all the way up the calf muscle. So you probably have heard of plantar fasciitis, where you get that pain in the sole of the foot. So when you're thinking about foot pain, pay attention to how tight your calves are and the outer shin muscles, because all of these muscles go down the leg and underneath the foot, and they connect to the bottom of the foot and the toes, so they affect the way we're feeling. The other thing that's very helpful with the feet, and you can do this seated or standing, is little circles with the feet, right? You're going to bring like one foot forward. I'm lifting my foot high. You point and you flex, and you do that circle. So you're opening up the ankle joint. The other thing, and I have a foot video, and I'll post a link to that to YouTube so that you can see it there. But the other one that you can do to help with the feet, lifting the heel, pressing the ball of the foot forward. This is kind of like a sweeter version of the toe stretch, you'll notice. And then you come down. So again, these are all variations on similar actions. You don't have to take one particular shape in order to feel like, I got the pose, I can do it. But lots of options for your body. So I will put a link to the foot video down below. That way you can get some yoga for feet poses and not just be thrown in a whole bunch of poses at once. Oh, you guys are incredible. I've been on here forever with you. So if you're still here hanging out with me, thank you. It's been a joy to share yoga with you this morning. So let me know if questions come up about more poses. I see hips, hamstrings, and lower back. So I will pop on with more info for that, but I don't want to take up your whole morning. It's wonderful to see you. Let me know. Okay, yeah, you got them? Yeah, just need to do them all day long. Okay, Michelle, bye. Have a great, great day. You're on top of it. You know this. You're a teacher too. Okay, so I'll catch you on the flip side. Have lots of fun today and lots of love. Bye, guys.